So today's project is installing a flagpole on the side of my garage. My wife's been asking me to do this for at least 2 years since we moved into the house, or longer, almost 3 years since we moved into the house. We've always had a flag, either a flagpole or in the yard or a flagpole coming off the house. So there's a lot of restrictions in this neighborhood HOA around flags. So I got my flag approved, my design approved. So the first thing, I guess, with doing flags is to make sure it fits the house. You don't want a little flag on a big 2-3 story house. The house we had before this was a one story with a deep porch, and we just had a small 4-foot pole on the side of the porch post, which was fine, looked fine. This house, the smaller flag pole would not work with this house because it's a tall 2 stories. So we've decided to put it on the corner of this garage. It's about, I don't want to go into brick, so my second option, which is not the best option, is this is hardy board. So I'm going to mount it here on the corner of the garage on the hardy board. And a couple things I want to do. Again, the 25-year plan. Everything I do, I want to last 25 years. So this is going to be a 6-foot flagpole. In the engineering vernacular, 6-foot moment hanging out there is a lot of moment on the mounting point. So, if you get wind gusts 40, 50 miles an hour, 6 foot out with a 5-foot flag, that puts a lot of moment on the mounting point where it mounts to the garage. And I want this thing never to come loose, never to crack the hardy board. So here's my plan. So the first challenge on this corner is to make sure I'm in the framing stud. So the stud, with all this trim work, the corner of the stud, I looked up underneath this bottom piece here, and I could see the sill plate underneath here, and I think I know where the corner stud starts. And I don't want to put any screws deeper than 2 inch. If I go out here, there's just sheathing and air. There's all my screwing is going to be within this 2 inch position here. So to accomplish that, I had to do this. So here's the design I'm going with. Because this is a heavy stainless steel bracket, there's a ton of brackets out there, but I've got a real high quality solid stainless steel. And the widest screws on this are 3 inches. So from this screw over to this screw is 3 inches. So I can't get that in within this screw. I could get these in 2 inches, and this screw would be out in air somewhere. So I'm not going to do that. So what I did is mounted it to this board. This is a piece of lumber I had in my shop. It's called 1 inch, but 1 inch is really, they spec it as a 1 inch board, but it's really 3/4 inch. So this is oak, holds screws well. Again, I just had a piece in my garage. This is exactly 20 inches, but that's about what I want it to be able to, keep this thing sturdy. So when that flag's blowing 6 feet out in high winds, it's not putting a lot of torque on these screws. And what I did is I have a bolt and a nut, so I countersunk holes in the back of this, put a washer underneath, and have a locking nut on the back of it. So I'm confident that that's going to hold through anything. It's not going to break loose. It's not going to split the board. And these are the screws I used. I used this stainless steel screws, 1024 by 1 inch. Stainless steel screw, and then a stainless steel 1024 locking nut, the nylock locking nut. And then what I did to do the counter bore is this I had in my toolbox. You can use this or something like this or a spade drill to do the counter bores for so the nuts sit below. The 1-inch screw, you know, it's obviously put on top. The height of this, the thickness of this bracket dictates how much of the screw is going to stick out. And the 1-inch screw is just barely flush with the surface. Actually, one of my counter bores I didn't get quite deep enough. One of these nuts is sticking out a little bit. I'm going to put a little gasket behind this anyhow, so where it's sticking up, I could grind it down, but I'm not going to worry. It's just going to press into the gasket. So yeah, that's the process I came up with to make sure this flagpole never comes loose and is sturdy in high winds. And then the mounting screws for this board, I'm going to screw through the board into the stud, are 3-inch number 10 stainless steel screws with a Torx head, because you can get a lot more torque rather than a Phillips head. It's the Torx head that comes with the bit. So this is going to be plenty long enough to hold my board, get through all that trim work, and then into the framing stud. So the bracket came with screws. They were stainless steel screws, but they're just not. Maybe they're 2.5 inches or 2-inch. But I'm going to use these 3-inch Torx head screws. Okay, so I just taped a piece of this is polycarbonate film, 20 thousandths thick film that I had laying around, and I used it as a template. I just don't want to hold the board up there. A bracket marks, so the bracket's going to be sitting here and here, and then it puts three screws on the inside of my 2-inch line where I believe the stud starts, and three up here again on the inside. So nothing past here, because I think there's just air behind there, sheathing and more of this hardy board siding. So by the time you get to the stud, you're that far in. So yeah, so I just taped that up there as a template. Then I'm going to tape that to the back of my board and screw the same holes in that. So when I tape this to the back of my board, I can't flip it over. You know, I've got to transfer it's got to come in from the bottom this way, like this. So I need to transfer the tape from this side to the opposite side. And I forgot to mention, I painted this oak board 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of exterior latex before I mounted that bracket to it. Okay, so I've got my my template taped to the back, and just to make sure that the holes should be, you flip it over, the holes should be to this side, and they are in fact to that side. So now I'm just going to mark them so they show up better. Six holes. And I'm just going to through drill them. Okay, so I've got my holes transferred to the board, 6 holes. Now it's time to countersink for the head of the screw. I don't have a good countersink tool. This is a countersink tool. I use this on metal and it's destroyed, so it just chops up the wood. So I'm going to use a stainless or a sheet metal screw, and I'm just going to counter bore instead of countersink for the head of the screw. The proper way is to countersink with one of these, but this tool is shot, and I'm not going to break free and go bow. All right, ran into one little snag. I didn't account for this being in the way, so I couldn't get my counter bore tool in there, so I had to put an extension on the drill, and I was able to kind of do it sideways. That's good enough. The screw head will push the rest of that down. Okay, so now, like I said, these are counterbored. Last thing I did is take the holes in the siding. I ran a pilot hole about 25. This diameter of this drill is about 25% smaller than the diameter of my screw that's going in, and I drilled it about as deep as the threads. So about as deep as the threads, a little past the back of the threads on this drill bit, so that this will, you know, not split. I'm trying not to. I don't want to split anything. So, you know, this is plenty big enough to get enough, you know, to cut its own threads. It's much bigger diameter than the hole I drilled, so it'll get a good bite. In fact, on the hardy board portion, I may go a little bit bigger. In fact, I am. I'm going to go bigger on the hardy board portion because I don't want it cracking that hardy board. All right, so now we're ready to. I'm going to start all the screws in the 6 holes, and this is the Torx bit that comes with in the box of screws. So I just put this in my extension. Magnetic extension piece I use for my drill. If you don't have one of these, you got to get one. Use this all the time. All right, so I'm going to start my screws. I'm going to run them in just so the point's sticking out the back. All right, there it is. I started all 6 screws. Now we just need to run them down. I'm going to need 2 hands to do that, so I'm not going to film it. And I do have my template behind there. I just decided to leave it in there because one of these nuts on the back of this is sticking up about 10 thousandths, and this gasket is 20 thousandths thick. So yeah, now I'm just going to run the screws down and see how it looks. All right, there it is. Yeah, it's super sturdy. I may or may not put some paint or spackle or something on the holes, but yeah, that's not going anywhere in my lifetime. Let me stick the flag in and see how it looks. All right, there it is. Yeah, I think that there it is, 6-foot pole on I think it's a 3x5 flag. But yeah, I think that's the right size. Any smaller would have looked out of place with the 2-story house. But yeah, I'm pleased with that. That'll hang in there on even the strongest winds. And the board doesn't look, I don't think it looks unsightly sticking up on the house. Once I cover up those screw holes, yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, there we got it. Another one off the honeydew list. So till next one, let's keep moving forward. Show our patriotism. See ya.